Welcome to episode 3 of The Edge of the Algorithm. In this episode, we will explore the intersection of AI in cybersecurity and its critical need for defenders. We're seeing generative AI really shake things up in cyber threats, and let's be honest, mostly not in a good way if you're trying to defend networks.
That's a really critical point to start with. It's not just that AI is getting smarter in theory. The alarming thing is how fast the bad actors are grabbing these tools. They're using AI to make attacks, well, frankly, much more effective, way more sophisticated, and maybe the scariest part, much easier for, almost anyone to pull off.
Yeah, and the sources we've been digging into, they keep coming back to this one really powerful analogy. They say generative AI is basically doing for cyber weapons what 3D printers did for physical ones, those untraceable ghost guns.
That comparison is, it's spot on and honestly a little chilling when you think about it. So the mission for this deep dive, pulling from these sources, is to really get under the hood of that comparison. We need to look at how attackers are using AI today, and crucially, why it's becoming so easy, almost trivial sometimes, for people to get into serious cybercrime. And then, the big one, why defenders have to start using AI too. It's not really optional anymore.
Okay, let's dig into that analogy then, because it does seem central. The sources draw this, direct line from Gen AI back to those affordable 3D printers. They point out once those printers got cheap enough, suddenly people without, fancy manufacturing skills could make things like untraceable guns at home using stuff they found online.
And the numbers on what happened next are pretty stark. One report highlighted a mind-blowing 1,000% increase in the use of those ghost guns in U.S. crimes just between 2017 and 2021. That just exploded because the barrier, the tech, the know-how to making dangerous stuff just dropped through the floor.
So the core idea is that both technologies drastically lower the barrier for creating dangerous tools. For 3D printers, it was like plastic filament and some online plans. For generative AI, it's compute power.
Exactly. Compute power is the key ingredient. And the sources really break down why this AI power is getting so accessible so fast. It's a few things coming together. First, you've got the hardware, right? Specifically GPUs, graphics processing units. They're kind of the engines driving this whole AI revolution.
And those have been on a wild ride, haven't they, performance-wise?
Oh, absolutely incredible. Get this. One stat suggests overall GPU performance is something like 7,000 times better since 2003 compared to standard CPUs. 7,000. And for AI inference that's actually running the AI model to get results, performance there is up maybe 1,000 times in just the last decade.
1,000x just for running it. Wow.
Yeah, puts the speed into perspective. And it's not just raw speed. The cost for that performance is plummeting too. Some analyses, looking at NVIDIA chips, for example, show like a 5,600 times improvement in price performance since 2003. What that means for you is that even regular consumer gear, maybe a good gaming PC, is becoming a serious AI machine. They mention things like the NVIDIA Jetson or Nano Dev Kit price dropped, but still packs a punch for Gen AI.
Okay, so the hardware piece, faster, cheaper, got it. But it's not just the chips, right? The actual AI models, the LLMs, are getting easier to handle too.
That's the other huge factor. Model optimization is moving at lightning speed. We're seeing these smaller, much leaner models now that can actually outperform the massive energy-guzzling ones from just a few years back. One source highlighted a model with maybe 1 billion parameters. Think of parameters like knobs the AI uses to think outperforming a 175 billion parameter model from only 3 years ago. That's huge efficiency. And critically, loads of really capable LLMs are open source now. Anyone can just download them and run them for free.
Right, okay. Faster, cheaper hardware, smaller, free software. But what about the cost to actually, run these things day to day, the inference costs?
Yeah, the operational cost. That's where it gets really, really dramatic, especially if you're on the defense side. The sources are clear. The cost to run these models, to get answers out of them, has just collapsed.
Collapsed how much? Give me a number.
Okay, try this. Roughly 1,000 times cheaper in just the last 3 years. So generating 1 million tokens of text that's like, I don't know, a decent chunk of a novel or lots of back and forth with an AI at top quality like GPT level. It went from maybe $60 in 2021 down to around 6 cents today.
6 cents, down from $60. That's game-changing.
It completely flips the economics. So you put it all together, faster, cheaper hardware, slicker open source models, practically free running costs, the production costs for AI-powered attacks, it's basically evaporating. It's becoming incredibly cheap and easy.
And just like the 3D printer thing, that just opens the floodgates for bad actors.
Precisely. It means nearly anyone with a decent computer, or Heck, even just a few bucks for cloud time can start churning out sophisticated attack code or really convincing personalized phishing emails, by the thousands, or custom-built exploits. This weapon-grade AI, as the sources call it, it's becoming almost as easy to get your hands on as those ghost gun blueprints were. You don't need to be some coding genius anymore.
And this isn't just theory, right? The sources have concrete examples of attackers using this stuff now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Social engineering is probably the most obvious, immediate impact zone. AI is fantastic at crafting phishing messages. Perfect grammar, no typos, highly personalized to the victim, and they can generate millions of variations.
The stats you mentioned earlier really back that up. Zscaler seeing that 60% jump in phishing. Maintworld saying 80% of campaigns use Gen AI.
An Security magazine with that, what was it, a 12,265% increase since 2022. The numbers are just soaring.
And it's not just email anymore, is it? There's voice phishing, too.
Right, phishing. And deepfakes are making that much scarier. That Erupt engineering case you brought up.
Yeah, the deepfake CFO voice.
Exactly. Tricked an employee into sending $25 million.
Right.
That's not some small-time scam. That's major corporate fraud enabled by AI voice cloning. Shows the potential damage.
And Heimdall Security pointed out something interesting. AI gets rid of the classic phishing tells.
Yeah, exactly. The bad grammar, the weird phrasing, AI cleans all that up. And it can vary the wording slightly across thousands of messages, so traditional spam filters that look for identical text have a much harder time catching them. Even people get fooled more easily.
Okay, so social engineering is supercharged. What else? Malware?
Definitely. Attackers are using AI to help generate malicious code and also to obfuscate it, basically, hide what it does.
Like that HP Wolf security finding you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. They found this XWorm remote access Trojan campaign. The downloader part, the bit that fetches the main malware, the code looked almost exactly like something ChatGPT would spit out. Comments and all. We're also seeing reports, like from Checkpoint Research, that ransomware gangs like FunkSec are using AI to maybe speed up their development or make their malware sneakier. And VMRay saw attackers using AI to generate really clean, well-formatted malicious scripts, even with helpful comments inside the code. That level of polish is unusual for typical malware. Makes analysis harder sometimes.
And this isn't just hackers tinkering. People are selling these AI capabilities as services on the dark web.
Oh, for sure. Malicious AI as a service is a thing now. Tools like WormGPT, based on an older open source model, are being marketed specifically for things like business email compromise, BEC. Where they impersonate the CEO to get finance to wire money. SlashNext found WormGPT being used heavily for that. Then there's FraudGPT. By mid-2023, it was apparently sold to over 3,000 people, promising to generate phishing pages, write scam emails, create undetectable malware, all packaged up.
And they're finding ways around the safety features built into the big mainstream AI models.
That's a key point. They aren't just relying on ChatGPT or Gemini. They're using less restricted models, maybe offshore ones or open source ones they can tweak. Mojoauth reported on using a Chinese LLM, DeepSeek R1, to generate card-stealing malware code. They even got it to give advice on money laundering. Apparently, because the model explained its reasoning step by step, it actually helped the researchers figure out better ways to prompt it for malicious stuff. There's a whole underground scene trading prompts and jailbreaks to get these models to do bad things.
So the tools are definitely out there and being used. It's not just lab experiments.
Not at all. And Gen AI is also speeding up the early stages of an attack, like recon, finding targets and weaknesses, and actually developing the exploits. LLMs are great at quickly searching through tons of data about known software bugs, like that old Log4Shell vulnerability, much faster than a human could.
Yeah, I can see that. Just point it at vulnerability databases and news feeds.
Exactly. And then once they find a weakness, they use AI to help write the exploit code or craft really specific phishing emails targeting people at that company. OpenAI and Microsoft saw state-linked groups doing just that. And we see the impact in the timing. RealQuest tracked how long it takes from when a vulnerability is announced to when it's actively used in attacks. That window shrank from an average of 47 days in 2023 down to just 18 days in 2024.
18 days, down from 47. That's a huge drop, over 60%.
It's a massive acceleration. It strongly suggests AI tools are helping attackers weaponize vulnerabilities much, much faster. Defenders have way less breathing room to patch systems.
And it's not just low-level criminals, right? Even the big, sophisticated state-sponsored groups are using this.
That's right. It cuts across the whole spectrum. OpenAI and Microsoft found Iranian state actors, the Crimson Sandstorm Group, using GPT-4 to help write spear phishing emails. Chinese groups like Charcoal Typhoon and Salmon Typhoon were caught using LLMs to generate scripts for their attacks. And VMware reported that governments like Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, they've all been seen misusing Google's Gemini model for things like writing malware, hiding malicious code, finding vulnerabilities in target systems.
So it doesn't matter if you're a script kiddie, a cybercrime entrepreneur, or a nation-state hacker group, AI is becoming a go-to tool.
It really is. And that widespread adoption brings us squarely to the issue of speed. The sources hammer this home again and again. Speed is maybe the biggest challenge now for defenders. Attacks are just happening faster.
That really a quest stat. Attackers moving from initial breach to spreading across the network in just 48 minutes on average.
48 minutes, and the fastest they clocked was just 27 minutes. 27, think about that. Less than half an hour from getting one foot in the door to potentially owning the network.
That's terrifyingly fast. How is AI enabling that kind of speed beyond just finding the initial exploit faster?
It's about automating all the tedious stuff that used to take a human attacker time and effort. Instead of manually scanning the network, manually writing little scripts to poke at things, manually tweaking malware to get past defenses, AI can do a lot of that now. AI agents can rapidly scan for known issues, use LLMs to whip up custom scripts for tools like Nmap or SQLmap, and adjust payloads automatically based on what they find. It compresses the whole attack timeline.
So that 62% drop in exploit time, 47 days down to 18, that's a direct result of AI automating the hard parts.
It certainly looks that way. It means defenders might only have hours, maybe minutes, after a new bug is announced before AI-driven scans start hitting their systems. Traditional defense teams, relying on humans to analyze, update, patch, they just can't keep up with that pace without serious automation themselves. And like we said, even the initial phishing is faster and sneakier thanks to AI, making early detection harder too.
Okay, so putting all this together from the sources, the conclusion seems pretty unavoidable, doesn't it? Defenders have to use AI to fight AI. It's that classic fight fire with fire scenario.
There's really no other way forward, it seems. The same AI tech attackers are using. Defenders need to harness it for defense. Speed, scale, sophistication. It cuts both ways.
And the good news, I guess, is that security pros are starting to do this. They're not just sitting ducks.
No, definitely not. The sources do highlight that AI is being integrated into defense tools and processes. We're seeing AI, especially machine learning and LLMs, built into detection systems to spot those weird, novel attack patterns that old signature-based tools would miss. AI is being used to automate chunks of incident response, speeding up how quickly defenders can contain a breach and recover. And that's powering better threat hunting, helping analysts find those needles in the haystack of security data.
Using AI to kind of sift through the noise, the millions of alerts and logs.
Exactly. VMware mentioned defenders are even using AI offensively in a sense. They're using it to generate diverse malware samples for testing, so they can improve their own analysis tools and defenses against the kind of stuff AI can create. We're seeing AI agents or plugins helping security teams triage alerts faster, analyze logs for connections, even draft initial response plans almost instantly. That saves critical time. AI is also key in modern sandboxes, analyzing suspicious files and helping to de-obfuscate malware to see what it's really doing.
So for organizations listening, the takeaway from all this research seems crystal clear.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's time to get serious about AI and security everywhere. We're talking AI-powered email filters that catch sophisticated phishing, AI and vulnerability management to prioritize what to patch first, zero-trust systems using AI to spot weird logins or behavior, AI and cloud security flagging anomalies. It needs to be layered throughout.
You could even maybe use AI red teams. Turn the attacker's methods back on yourself to find weaknesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources talk about that automated AI red teams using LLMs to constantly test defenses, probe for holes way faster and more persistently than human testers could. The message is just urgency. Attackers have embraced Gen AI. Defenders have to catch up fast.
Because if you don't have those AI capabilities, the attackers using them will just always be operating faster, always be a step ahead.
That's the fundamental reality this research points to. The threat landscape isn't static anymore. It's dynamic, it's fast, and it's increasingly AI-driven.
With generative AI becoming as easy to access as those 3D printers, these advanced attack capabilities are spreading widely.
Yeah, we've seen the data points. WormGPT for BEC, state actors like Crimson Sandstorm using GPT-4, phishing numbers through the roof. That exploit timeline shrinking dramatically.
It really does feel like the AI arms race in cybersecurity isn't some future scenario. It's happening right now.
And defenders can't afford to wait and see. The sources are unanimous on this, adopting AI for detection, for response, for proactive hunting. It's not just nice to have, it's necessary to even stay in the game, let alone get ahead.
Like that one report said, pretty bluntly, cybercriminals are moving faster than ever, so defenders must move faster.
Cyberspace is becoming an AI battlefield. Defenders need their own AI shield, their own AI sword, just to keep pace.
Which, given how fast AI itself is moving on both sides, leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? How much faster can defenders realistically get, even with AI? Or maybe the real challenge isn't just speed, but a more fundamental change in how we approach defense altogether. Maybe more collaboration, different strategies entirely. Something to think about.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Edge of the Algorithm. Stay safe and stay secure.